Right guys, here it is, my £1,000 Range Rover Sport. I bought it as a non-runner a couple of weeks ago, but whilst we were there picking it up, we never really got a chance to start it when we were there because we were dealing with dead batteries and dead jump pack. So now that I've got it on, we've had the battery charged and we're going to get it on, give it a crank and see what happens with it.
Well, I made that catchphrase.
You have to ignore all the shit, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm building an extension.
It's not, it's just a scruffy.
Hold on, I am building an extension.
No, he is. There's the caravan, it's dirty caravan. Yeah. There you go. Used to be an outhouse, like a brick shed. So he's converting it. So his kitchen's bigger. Yeah.
Have you seen this yet, you?
No? No inside.
It's nice, like.
Man. Yeah, the inside's way better.
Yeah, the inside's friggin' clean, like.
Yeah.
To be honest, you could do with it giving it a wash.
Yeah, man. I want a car, right?
I'm hoping it starts and the suspension goes.
Yeah.
Does it have an automatic?
You got an air compressor.
Yeah, it'll have a leak on it, but it won't be major, because like you say, it hasn't been started for friggin' months.
Yes.
But the only bit of crusty bit it's got really is there, on the wheel arch, and then on the other side, but I'm not asked about that. And if I am bothered about that, Carl won't charge me much to paint that in.
No.
You just grind it all back, probably just bang a bit of rust treatment on it.
It's even got heated side windows and then back ones. That's what the lines are.
There's a heated screen as well, nice. Doubt you'll get them lines in there, Jono, but
Yeah,
they're dead faint like. We'll see what it's like once I've had it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Polish the friggin' thing and see what it comes up like. If it looks alright, I'll just leave it.
Right, so this is round 2.
Yeah. Round 2.
Yeah. We did come out earlier, but for some reason the footage didn't have any audio. And basically the engine turned over before. We'll just do the noises over the footage.
Yeah.
Whoop-pa, whoop-pa, whoop-pa. That's that funny noise. And then it stopped turning over. So we'll just run through what it's doing now. So we've got some bloody audio. Should turn over now and be laughing.
Oh, it's optimistic that like.
Make sure that's tight and got a good grip.
I'm just going to show you it cranking and locking basically.
Gary, knock it on the head, mate. Trying to record here, Gaz. I want to say a big thanks to OBD11 for sponsoring today's video.
OBD11 is a great little tool to have.
It's like a little diagnostic tool that'll fit in your pocket. It's got OBD2 functionality, gives your engine insights. You can diagnose faults and unlock hidden features in the car.
So if you're an experienced mechanic or just a hobbyist, OBD11 will sort you right out with this handy little tool. You can also use code TVR at checkout to get a tidy 10% off, or you can click the link in the description below.
Right, to connect to OBD11, all you've got to do is plug in the OBD reader into the diagnostic port, put the ignition on and click connect. It'll take a couple of minutes to read all the different ECUs and all that, and then it'll give us any fault codes. So one fault found, it says it's with the transmission. OBD fault code U0121, and here you can just click on the Google sign and it'll tell you a description of what the fault will be. Right, so we're going to clear it now and we'll drive it for a bit and see if that code comes back up. That way we'll know if it's a proper fault or not, or whether the battery being low or something that's just caused it.
OBD11's one-click app, which makes it really easy to customise things on your car. For example, you can customise your headlight adaptation for when you're driving abroad, so you're not blinding other drivers with your full beam. Hey, like that.
There's literally loads. I can't believe how many there is. Let's try the door open alarm. Right, so with this car, when the door's open, obviously makes an annoying beep. You can actually turn that off on this app. So we'll turn it off, we'll activate it, it's saying done. There you go. Look at that.
That's so nice, isn't it?
That's alright, that. Right, so you can either add a sound or remove it when you're locking, just to confirm it's locked so you're not second guessing yourself. Right, so we just put the audible sound on for when you're locking and unlocking, so you can tell when you've unlocked it or locked it.
You can also do needle sweep, automatic folding mirrors when you lock your car, and my personal favourite, turn off stop start. So it's about the same price, if not slightly cheaper, as putting your car in the garage to get a mechanic to diagnose your car, but yet you've got this for life. So OBD11 is not just limited to VAG or BMW, it's for all other motors newer than 08.
So thanks again to OBD11 for sponsoring today's video, and don't forget to use code TVR at checkout for 10% off. Right, go on. What's going on there, man? It is traffic. Does not sound good whatsoever, that.
No.
See the little key bumps? Yeah, go on. Go on. So see the fan moving there, but nothing else is moving. Right, let me see if I can get to the... So obviously, all that's got a bit of movement, so the crank is trying to spin. But if you look, hang on.
Might be hard to see that in there, like.
We looked in there before anyway. You can see a cam. There's not a bit of movement. So the crank's trying to turn, but no movement at all on the cam, which I'm assuming the belt's gone. But earlier on, you'll see the fan spinning round and it's spitting a bit of smoke out from down here. So it was spinning, and then all of a sudden it's locked up. And we knew it was sort of poorly.
Yeah.
We didn't know how poorly.
No.
It's terminal, innit?
It is terminal, like.
To be honest, it's just snuffed it. So anyway, obviously the engine locked up. Liam's dad, where he works, has got a spare engine there, one of these engines. And he said he can have it cheap. It's looking like that's the option now.
Which is definitely now the case, because it's locked itself up.
We know now that the engine's dead. It's not really worth looking into it for what Liam can get the engine for. It's not even worth looking at that one.
No.
So the idea is the engine and his dad's work, get it and refresh it.
Yeah, basically he bought an engine off someone who had a Discovery, and it was a complete rot box, but apparently the engine was a good engine. It just had petrol put in it. So it was unknown really whether it was a good engine or not. But he said, I can strip the engine down in my dad's work, see if it's all good before buying it. He only wants 300 quid if it's all good. If not, he's just going to scrap it anyway.
It's a bargain, that.
See you later. Nice one, Beck, for interrupting
It's
that.
Liam's bird, that. F***ing getting in the way as usual. She'll kill me for that.
Yeah, so he basically did say, I can have the engine. If it's all right, I can have it for 300 quid. If it's not, he's only going to bin it anyway. So I'm going to strip the engine down in my dad's work to take the heads off, basically to look at the bore and the top of the pistons to see if the petrol's melted anything. I'll have to put head gasket, head bolts and all that gubbins on. So we'll strip all the bottom of the engine off, we'll take all the sump off and have a look at the crank and see if that's all right, see if it needs shells or what. But for the sake of it, I've already priced some parts up and they're not dear at all.
Yeah, so for the sake of it, you may as well do all the shells.
Yeah, do all the shells, do all the mains.
Do all the belts.
And do big ends.
Oil pump.
Yeah, so we'll do an oil pump.
Chains on the cams.
Oh yeah, oil pump, chains on the cams and tensioners, and then all the belts. So it'll be auxiliary belt, cam belt, diesel, pump belt, and then all the tensioners and pulleys you get with the kit.
So basically it's a refreshed engine.
Yeah, it'll be a refreshed engine pretty much. It'll be good to feel confident about the engine being in the truck, you know what I mean? Not like this, so I don't know anything about it and I'll just be paranoid it's not going to work one day.
Yeah, you're feeling a lot better than a second-hand engine.
Yeah, definitely.
And like you say, you can take it to his granddad's, do it on the 2-poster ramp, and you know, rope his dad in as well.
Yeah, everyone will be getting roped in.
His dad always gets roped in if it's anything to do with an engine.
Right, so what I've decided to do with this Range Rover is, because it's in bits in the garden, I'm going to do this build partly at home and partly in my granddad's garage, because we've got too many cars going on in the workshop for us to do it there, so I'm going to do it after work and the weekends and that with my dad. But I've stripped as much stuff off as I can. Just whilst it's in the garden I can have a look and see what's sort of wrong with this engine, but I don't want to take it apart too much until it goes to my granddad's garage. So now that me and Andy have figured out that this engine's pretty much goosed, I'm going to head up to my dad's work and strip the engine down there and see if it's worth rebuilding that engine or the one that's in the truck. ERS, Engine Repair Services. Good bunch of lads here. If you're from the northwest and you're needing basically engine repairs, it's a good place to bring it. They're a nice set of lads and they're all good at the job, like. And I'm not just saying that because my dad works here, they are actually good at what they do. Right then, so let's get inside and get this engine stripped and see what we're dealing with. So we're going to strip this apart, build this engine, and then it's just a case of taking the body off and swapping engines over, and then I'll look into the other engine when it comes to it, see if it's worth selling or just chucking in the bin. Apparently this one's had petrol through it, so we're not quite sure, but we'll soon find out.
Right, so the main goal for today is to get the cylinder heads off and check all the bores and make sure the petrol hasn't damaged to anything. And if we've got time, we'll also take the sump off and check the crank and all the bearings. Right, so to get us to the point where we can check the bores, first of all we're going to have to remove all the pipes, all the wiring and any clips. Then the rocker cover will have to come off, then we can get to the cams. When we're removing the cams, remember to keep all your cam caps in order as they are numbered, and then we can get to the cylinder head bolts. So as you can see, Mark's actually numbering them as he's taking them off, just so it's easier for him to see for when he's putting them back. And then the head bolts have got to come out, and then we can lift the cylinder heads off and check the bores. So to check the bore, you've got to push the piston all the way down, and we'll have to do each one individually as they're all staggered on the crank.
Nice.
Right, so Mark's given it the finger of approval, and he reckons all the cylinders are good. So as long as the crank's alright, we're good to go with the rebuild. Right, so next we're going to check the crank. To do this, we're going to lift it up, drain the oil, and remove the sump.
It's lovely and black in there though, isn't it, really? Like silveriness and that.
Right, so we're just going to reposition the engine and sit it on its flywheel. Then we can take the oil baffle off, and that's the last thing that's got to come off before we can see the crank. So the oil baffle is attached directly to the block. To undo this, you've literally got to undo a shed load of bolts and give it a bit of a love tap to crack the seal.
Well, that sounds promising.
As you can hear, the first couple of taps sounded quite solid and high pitched. But then the tone changes and it goes a lot deeper and more hollow sounding. That tells us that the seal's cracked and the part's on its way off. So now that the oil baffle's off, it gives us access to the crank so we can check the condition of the big ends.
Did you watch that Matt Armstrong video with the Ferrari? He's building the Ferrari engine up and he puts that red assembly lube underneath them.
Underneath them?
Yeah, and all.
Oh well, you learn by your mistakes, aren't you?
Right, so with the big end shells being worn, that means they're going to need replacing. We've also noticed there's a bit of crank float as well. It's getting a bit late in the day now to do that, so we'll crack on with that tomorrow.
Right, so I'm just going back to ERS, it's where we're stripping this engine down. We got to a certain point the other night with it and we had to leave it because my dad had to get back, but I'm just going to go back tonight, take the piston and the rings out and just make sure the rings are alright with it. If they're alright, apparently they're good, the rings they use in Range Rovers. I've been speaking to a few people, so if there's no cracks or breakages with them, they'll be fine to go back in. And then I'll get on with ordering all the other parts for the rebuild, and we'll build it up, and hopefully soon we'll have a fully built engine ready to go back in the truck. So we'll get in there and get cracking. Right, yeah, so as I was saying in the car today, we're going to get all the pistons out. So my dad's just numbered them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just so when they come out they go back in the same bore. Just to check the rings, because all the bores look good. There's no scrape marks or nothing like that. But we'll get them out and give it a little bit of a hone with the honing tool and make sure they're alright. So the first thing to do here is reposition this engine so we can turn the flywheel and cycle the crank.
Probably better to hit line it on its side there, I can turn it. Hit your flywheel hanging over the edge. It right on as far as we can get it on without the flywheel being catchy.
So the next thing to do here is put marks in the big end caps. We're just going to use a punch and number them so it matches the number on the top of the piston on the other side of the engine.
Right, so after marking them up, we're going to remove the 2 connecting bolts, remove the cap, and then tap the piston up the other side of the engine.
That's it.
Well, with this, that could be what's wrong with that one.
We found that there was one of the rings stuck on one of the pistons. So it's a good job we dove into taking this engine apart, otherwise we might have missed that. And the result of that would have led to us having low compression on one of the cylinders. So after checking the rings, we're going to move on to investigating what this crank float is and also check the main bearings as well. We'll do this by removing all 6 bolts that hold the caps in. We'll rattle the caps off and we can visually inspect the bearings. She's made these brioche buns, not burgers. She made these freaking onion rings the other night. Look, I should have tasted them, but honest to God, I can't believe it. I'm considering they were like gluten-free ones and that.
F***ing Steve, that.
It does stink, doesn't it? Oh yeah, it's a bit f***ed, isn't it?
So as you can see, there's a lot of wear and pit marks on it.
Yeah, that's a bit f***ed.
Will that knacker the crank?
Typical marks in this though. And you probably polish out that certain.
But luckily enough, it hasn't damaged the crank. So we got away with that, as that would have been a dear part to replace.
So now you can see we're taking the thrust washer out the crank.
Garbage, down that one.
What's that?
Yeah. Transformotion.
What do you mean? So down at the side way down?
That,
I may give you the in and out stuff.
that's what's giving me a play, wasn't it?
So after removing the flush washer and visually inspected it, you can clearly see that part of it is missing. And this is what's causing the play in the crank. This bearing that we're changing, there should be, that bit that wobbles about there, there should be another one of them on that side. And it isn't there, it's fell off. It's not inside the engine and it's not on the sump. But when we took the sump off, it had friggin' loads and loads of glue on the sump, so it's been off before the sump. So someone's obviously found that, took it off, chucked it, put the sump back on with loads of glue. But then you get that in and out play when they're not in. When that was in, it was still doing it, but obviously because one half had come off and was missing. So that was the play, so we've ordered one of them.
Right, so after inspecting the engine, we've come to the conclusion that we're going to need big ends as one's slightly worn, a set of mains as one's pitted, some thrust washers, and we're just going to throw a set of rings in it as well, and probably give it a quick home, just so the job's done right.
So yeah, that's the outcome of that there. Took the pistons out, one of the piston rings is stuck in, but it's just carbon build up, so I'd have probably had a problem with that there if I'd have just left it. So it's a good job we took them out really. So I'll buy new rings for it, and my dad's going to get Steve to have a look at that crank tomorrow and see if we can polish that little tiny mark out. You can't feel the mark, it's literally just I wouldn't even say it was a score mark. It's nothing really. He reckons it'll polish out, but we'll speak to Steve tomorrow anyway and see what he says, because he's like a friggin' wizard with engines and stuff. So if you've enjoyed today's video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave us a comment on your thoughts and guesses of how much this is going to cost to rebuild. And hopefully in the next video, we'll be building the engine back up and all my parts will be here, so I'll see you soon.